The story unfolds in a slice-of-life rhythm around Archie Bunker, whose conservative values and suspicious outlook constantly collide with the shifting dynamics of his family and friends. In the opening scenes, Edith gently sings cheerful tunes while preparing brunch for Archie, humorously explaining to young Stephanie how brunch is formed by removing part of the words breakfast and lunch. Stephanie studies Asia, which Archie ignorantly dismisses as a dopey little country, revealing both generational conflict and his casual prejudice. This early dynamic sets a comedic but meaningful tone. Archie is the immovable force planted firmly in his worldview, even as the world changes around him. As he prepares to leave for the bar he co-runs with Harry, the family discovers that Boom Boom, their previous waitress, has quit. Her boyfriend was released from jail and wants her to live with him until he gets caught again. Archie heads off, frustrated, hungry, and craving respect. Soon at the bar, a new waitress arrives, Denise, an old acquaintance of Archie. Their past awkward romantic tension resurfaces. Denise and Archie share lingering glances, half confessions, and playful nostalgia about a night long ago when something almost happened but didn't. She still calls him sweet, stroking his ego in ways he desperately enjoys but doesn't admit. It becomes clear Denise could spark trouble, especially with Edith. Harry, oblivious and comically unhelpful, hovers around as if waiting for instructions. Denise asks why Archie didn't stay with her years ago, and he awkwardly blames love for his wife mixed with fear. She responds kindly, suggesting he made the right choice, but her behavior implies lingering affection. When Edith later visits the bar, she innocently speaks with Denise. Denise insists nothing romantic happened, only dancing and 2 little kisses, so Edith feels safe, almost grateful. Their conversation reflects Edith's humility and blind trust. Denise decides to quit, knowing staying would torture her emotionally. Archie lies to Edith, claiming Denise was fired because she was too infatuated with him. The bar continues its comedic rhythm. Next, the story turns to Christmas season at Archie's bar, where the characters wrestle with morality and money. Santa Claus appears as a charity collector, looking tired and financially desperate. The bar patrons give little or nothing. Soon, Archie discovers counterfeit $10 bills circulating in the bar. Confusion grows as more bills appear. Suspicion falls on Mr. Van Rensselaer, a blind patron. Archie tests him mixing a counterfeit bill into real bills, and Van Rensselaer picks the wrong one. But it's revealed multiple counterfeit bills were already in the register, suggesting the real culprit is elsewhere. The police eventually become involved when Edith innocently spends one counterfeit bill while buying underwear. At the station, officers question her, referencing a mysterious case involving Agnes D'Annunzio, showing how confused her answers are. Edith refuses to identify Archie to protect him, swallowing imaginary keys to lock her lips. Archie rushes in and panics, presenting several IDs, including a library card with the wrong name. The officers ultimately release them, but ask Archie to watch for more counterfeit bills. Back at the bar, Archie seals the door and confronts everyone inside, convinced the criminal must still be there. Mr. Van Rensselaer, with perfect auditory awareness, remembers who last passed a $10 bill. It was Santa. The man confesses years ago his uncle left him a fortune of counterfeit bills. He lost his job insurance and savings, said he felt forced to use them. Poor and ashamed Santa promises he will repay every dollar after receiving his small salary. Archie's heart softens. The bar reluctantly lets him go. But as Santa leaves, they notice something shocking. He drives away in a fancy 1979 Cadillac. Archie is stunned, questioning whether compassion was foolish. The next arc moves into the home. Christmas draws near, and Edith worries about their small tree and preparations. Gloria, Mike, and baby Joey are supposed to visit from California. Archie pessimistically claims California is full of disasters, nude swimming, and strange liberal behaviors. Shortly before the family's arrival, Gloria calls they will not come home because Mike's back has gone out again. Archie complains the Hollywood lifestyle has corrupted Mike. Edith, however, quietly decides they should go to California instead. After endless convincing packing and dramatic reluctance, they depart, dragging a frozen turkey onto the plane, something Archie finds humiliating. At the airport in California, chaos unfolds. Stephanie wanders off to look for the restroom. Archie panics, bumps into strangers, and shouts instructions. Gloria appears stressed, smog-tired, but joyful to reunite. Joey is asleep at home. Mike stayed behind, allegedly due to his bad back. At the house, Archie discovers warm weather lemon trees, patio culture, people lounging under sun sharing cigarettes, and modern California living. Archie rejects much of it, insisting Christmas should be cold. Decorations and sleeping arrangements become contentious. Archie and Edith sleep on an uncomfortable sofa bed. Archie bumps into a glass door, complaining the butterfly sticker on it is insufficient warning. Despite complaining non-stop, he softens around Joey, hugging him proud of the boy's hair and energy. Late at night, Mike and Gloria secretly argue. Their marriage has fallen apart. Gloria confesses to Edith that she had been lonely, ignored, and depressed. She felt invisible at academic gatherings. Worse, she ate compulsively, ashamed of her weight. One night, forgotten at a party, she formed a bond with another man, Bud Krieger. Their encounters were emotional support, not necessarily sexual. She feels guilty but insists she needed attention. Edith faints, repeatedly overwhelmed by the confession. When Archie finally learns the truth, his reaction is explosive. He storms into rooms demanding answers, nearly ready to physically confront Mike, assuming Mike cheated. Instead, he learns Gloria saw another man. His heart sinks. He calls her actions sinful. But when pressed, Gloria admits she still loves Mike. Mike, confused, says he doesn't know how he feels. Edith becomes the mediator. She argues that love can survive mistakes. Both sides soften. The fighting eases as family bonds temporarily overshadow pain. The children wake up. Presents are exchanged. Stephanie receives a doll. Joey rides a new toy. Mike and Archie awkwardly exchange gifts, ironically the same electric razor Mike bought for himself. The humor of mismatched gifting masks deeper pain. At this moment, Edith's instincts seem right. Perhaps forgiveness is possible. Through character quirks, arguments, confessions, and comedic misunderstandings, the narrative illustrates honest family vulnerabilities, temptation, loneliness, economic struggle, identity, aging, and the hope of reconciliation. Archie, stubborn and flawed, sporadically reveals compassion. Edith, gentle and naive, becomes wise under pressure. Gloria, desperate for validation, wrestles with consequences. Mike, proud and intellectual, struggles with emotional blindness. The story's early segments emphasize generational conflict, marital loyalty, shifting cultural norms, and the fragile boundaries between friendship, affection, and betrayal. Humor cushions the emotional gravity, making the overall tone heartfelt rather than tragic. Archie's bigotry, however, outdated, becomes ironically less harmful than emotional neglect. Gloria's desperation is relatable, and Edith's collapsing fainting spells serve as comedic release from an otherwise painful confession. The narrative does not deliver a final conclusion yet, but instead reveals a family standing at the crossroads, holding tightly to the fragile hope that love, even wounded, can be repaired through empathy and honesty. As Christmas morning continues in the household, the tension between Gloria and Michael does not instantly vanish despite temporary calm. Archie watches every interaction with suspicion, interpreting every sentence through his conservative lens. Although the children's innocent joy softens the environment, the unspoken emotional fractures remain visible. Edith tries to maintain holiday harmony, offering French toast and cookies shaped like nursery rhyme characters. Her attempts to neutralize conflict reflect her character. She believes that affection and routine can fix pain. Michael struggles with resentment. He reveals to Gloria that he felt overwhelmed balancing responsibilities as a husband, father, and academic. He claims he was trying to make a future for the family, attending meetings and lectures. Gloria counters that she saw no affection, no attention, only abandonment. Their conversation exposes the deeper theme: marriages can decay not through explosive betrayal, but through subtle neglect. Gloria's loneliness grows vivid when she describes being left at a party, alone, unnoticed, until Michael returned to say it was time to leave. Her emotional starvation becomes the context for the connection she found with Bud Krieger. Instead of judging, the narrative invites empathy. She wasn't chasing excitement, but simply to feel seen. Archie's frustrations intensify as he tries to process this emotional complexity. To him, marriage is duty, stability, and loyalty. Emotion, vulnerability, and modern relationships are foreign concepts. His reaction involves threats of violence, contradictions, and loud accusations. In a comedic but revealing moment, Archie tries to spell divorce out loud, becoming confused as he mixes letters, symbolizing how unprepared he is to accept change. Edith, when pressured to pick sides, experiences physical reactions, fainting, headaches, panic. Her coping mechanism, losing consciousness, reflects her inability to handle emotional conflict. Yet when awake, she becomes the emotional backbone, gently guiding conversation toward reconciliation. Outside the home, the California setting becomes metaphorical. Warm weather, bright sunlight, and lemon trees highlight cultural contrast against Archie's cold, rigid worldview. The patio is a symbol of relaxation, modernity, and communal freedom. The neighbors lounging casually suggest a new social structure where lifestyle matters more than tradition. Archie, overwhelmed, retreats into complaint. Warm Christmas is unnatural, palm trees are suspicious, and sunshine is inappropriate for December. His world is grounded in nostalgia, the show's recurring theme from its opening song, "Those Were the Days." But nostalgia can create blind spots, preventing acceptance. Stephanie represents the generation beyond Gloria and Michael. Her curious questions, honesty, and eagerness to please create a soft mirror, reflecting how adults fail to communicate clearly. When she initially resists traveling, Archie manipulates her imagination by telling her about a mysterious attic door that must always remain locked. This clever psychological tactic plays on childish fear and highlights the subtle ways adults shape behavior. Once frightened, Stephanie rushes into the car, demonstrating how humor masks manipulation. Later, she synthesizes family tension, asking uncomfortable questions that expose cracks beneath adult facades. Joey, younger and barely verbal, symbolizes innocence without bias. His interactions are direct hugs, excitement, imitation of Archie's Bronx cheer. He is unaffected by emotional complexity. His joy during gift opening provides temporary relief and hope. At the heart of the conflict is communication. Michael misreads Gloria's cries for affection as demands. Gloria misinterprets Michael's dedication to his career as indifference. They spiral into mutual misunderstanding. Each becomes lonely in the presence of the other, more painful than being alone entirely. When questioned about Bud Krieger, Gloria refuses to give details, but her hesitation implies emotional intimacy worse to Archie than physical betrayal. To Archie, emotion is weakness. To Gloria, emotion is survival. The show purposely leaves ambiguity, allowing viewers to reflect on their own perspective. Archie's rage continues, not simply because Gloria strayed, but because reality contradicts his belief that family problems are private, controllable, and fixable with authority. His version of masculinity cannot process emotional nuance. Yet ironically, when pressed, he displays compassion. The Christmas season symbolically forces him to reconcile anger with vulnerability. Edith, despite feigning spells, is surprisingly clear when she speaks directly. She insists that love can withstand mistakes. Her voice becomes the narrative's moral compass. She suggests that pain is part of growth, not a reason to abandon vows. She guides both sides toward reflection. Do you love each other enough to try again? Archie, reluctantly moved, stays silent. He acknowledges internally that his daughter's happiness matters more than pride or judgment. When Gloria apologizes, Edith embraces her, validating her emotional struggle. Michael, who has been defensive, begins to listen rather than argue, realizing Gloria's loneliness wasn't a personal attack, but a cry for connection. The audience sees the possibility of reconciliation emerging not from punishment, but empathy. Beneath the comedic arguments lies a central theme: people evolve differently when exposed to new environments. California influences Gloria's identity. University culture influences Michael. Their growth is asynchronous, creating friction, but neither intended harm. Meanwhile, Archie and Edith's journey symbolizes older generations observing younger generations struggle with concepts they either never encountered or refused to name: emotional neglect, existential loneliness, identity beyond domestic roles. Archie only understands the physical world: jobs worked, meals cooked, chairs sat in. Feelings are suspicious, academic, and unnecessary. He fears what he cannot define. Gloria's fragility reveals her transformation from dependent daughter to woman seeking autonomy. Her emotional arc demonstrates that self-worth cannot rely solely on marriage. When she cries over weight gain, she expresses self-image crises triggered by neglect. Eating frozen cheesecake becomes a metaphor for self-soothing behaviors, sweetness compensating for absence. Michael in turn confronts that intellectual growth does not equate to emotional maturity. His career ambitions masked an avoidance of emotional labor. He believed providing opportunity was love. Gloria needed presence, not academic prestige. The living room becomes the battleground. Archie's sofa bed represents discomfort and confinement. It's where secrets unravel. Confrontations occur there, symbolic of how intangible emotional problems manifest in physical spaces. Even the comedy of Archie bumping into the glass door reflects how often characters crash blindly into unseen boundaries. Children's laughter and wrapping paper rustling contrast with adult tears, reminding viewers that life blends joy with pain. When everyone gathers to open presents, awkwardness softens. Michael gives Archie an electric razor, the same gift Archie gives himself. The coincidence reflects their mirrored stubbornness and unintended mutual respect. Archie awkwardly thanks Michael, emotional walls cracking slightly. As the tree lights glow, nostalgia resurfaces. Archie sings lines referencing simpler eras, but the narrative subtly asserts simplicity never truly existed. People were just quieter about their problems. Humor destabilizes tension. Jokes about Santa driving a Cadillac after claiming poverty challenge assumptions. Even generosity can be exploited. Characters grapple with when to show mercy and when to demand justice. Archie learns compassion but remains suspicious, illustrating moral ambivalence. The counterfeit bills plot parallels Gloria's affair. Both represent something that looks real but lacks authenticity. Fake currency circulates quietly until discovered, just as emotional deception does. When exposed, both require accountability. Forgiveness becomes currency that must be earned, not assumed. As the family prepares dinner, laughter gradually overtakes tears. The narrative avoids simplistic resolutions. Instead, it suggests families survive through resilience. Gloria and Michael are not magically mended, but they are willing to talk. Archie refuses to fully approve, but steps aside, acknowledging love requires personal choice. Edith reflects quietly, handshaking understanding. Her role as mediator is complete. In the final emotional beat, Archie hugs Gloria, whispering that he loves her. She cries into his shoulder, a symbolic rebalancing of father-daughter security. He may not articulate complexity, but his presence is grounding. The story concludes this arc without tying every thread. It invites viewers to consider how relationships evolve, how mistakes become lessons, and how forgiveness requires humility. It refuses to condemn Gloria or Michael entirely, instead showing flawed humans navigating pressure, expectation, and belonging. At its core, the narrative remains hopeful. Christmas, with all its imperfections, becomes the catalyst for honesty. The warm California sun contradicts tradition, but warmth expresses itself differently in different places. One does not need snow to experience renewal. By letting characters speak, listen, break down, and rebuild, the story argues that families survive not because they are perfect, but because they are willing to keep trying. And that may be the deepest truth of all. As the day unfolds in California, the atmosphere around the house begins to settle into an uneasy peace. The argument between Gloria and Michael lingers in the air like distant thunder. While the verbal storm has passed, emotional humidity remains, dampening every attempt at levity. Archie sits stiffly on the sofa bed, grumbling about its discomfort and likening it to a honeymoon coffin. But beneath his insults, there is weariness. He is aging, and his stubbornness is as much self-defense as pride. Edith watches him with concern, sensing both his frustration and vulnerability. The household tries to slip back into a rhythm. Stephanie helps Edith arrange cookies on a plate for Joey, her hands careful and precise. The innocence of the gesture contrasts sharply with the emotional turbulence stirred earlier. Stephanie hustles between curiosity and anxiety. She senses grown-up tension, though no one explains it plainly. When her questions grow too direct, adults deflect, offering simplified answers. Her gaze lingers on Gloria, longer than usual, quietly studying her aunt's pensive eyes. In the corner, Joey plays freely, making motorcycle sounds as he rides the toy present Archie gave him. The living room becomes a strange theater where laughter and tension occupy the same space, dancing uncomfortably together. The sound of wrapping paper being torn, Edith's giggle, and the occasional clatter of Mike's chair create a domestic soundtrack masking deeper conversations waiting to emerge. Later in the afternoon, Archie wanders to the patio again. This time, instead of criticizing the lemon tree or the lounging neighbors, he stands silently, hands on his hips, watching children across the street chase a ball. The sun warms his face. He exhales heavily. He may not approve of California culture, but he understands the lifestyle's appeal. The calm, the slowness, the gentle breeze whispering against patio chairs. He mutters to himself that people out here die slowly in the sun doing nothing, though the melancholy tone suggests envy. Inside, Gloria helps Edith in the kitchen. They chop vegetables and baste the turkey Edith dragged across the country. Gloria apologizes repeatedly, each confession slipping out involuntarily, as though emancipating guilt trapped inside her ribs. Edith listens with drooping eyelids, her brow knitted but compassionate. She refuses to judge. She merely says, sometimes loneliness can make a person forget they're not alone. Her poetic simplicity disarms Gloria more than any lecture. Gloria rests her head on Edith's shoulder, whispering that she never meant to hurt anyone. Edith pats her, gently acknowledging pain without excusing mistakes. In the living room, Michael talks quietly with Archie. Archie sits rigidly, arms crossed, glaring like a disappointed general. Michael tries explaining that neglect was unintentional, the result of academic ambitions. Archie snaps that ambition's fine if you don't forget who's waiting at home. Michael nods, realizing that although Archie's language is blunt, the philosophy contains truth. The conversation is peppered with insults and sarcasm, but buried within the noise is reluctant understanding. Archie does not know how to say, treat her better, so he masks advice in anger. Evening arrives. The family gathers around the dining table. Candles flicker, casting shadows across faces that have aged emotionally in only a few hours. Dinner begins with awkward silence, until Stephanie tells a random story about school, which causes everyone to laugh relieved. Even Archie smiles. For a moment, unity returns. They eat slowly, the turkey surprisingly delicious for having traveled thousands of miles. Archie compliments Edith's cooking in his own way, almost worth the humiliation of flying with a dead bird. The table chuckles gently, but emotional gravity returns after the plates are cleared. Gloria and Michael excuse themselves and walk to the patio to talk privately. Outside, the breeze carries the scent of lemon leaves and distant ocean salt. They sit in chairs angled toward each other but lean back as though afraid closeness might ignite another argument. They speak softly. Gloria explains she felt erased not because Michael intended to hurt her, but because he forgot she existed beyond domestic roles. Michael, after listening without interruption, whispers that he never realized silence could be cruelty. He thought providing financially and intellectually was enough. Gloria shakes her head through tears, explaining that she wanted simple things: conversations, shared meals, a touch on her back while cooking, tiny gestures that said, "You matter." Michael takes responsibility for forgetting intimacy, not just romance, but daily awareness. He explains his fear of academic failure, his need to prove worth in a new environment, and how his insecurities became distractions. Gloria admits she should have spoken rather than waiting to be noticed. Their problems become mutual accountability instead of accusations. They both fear they might have drifted too far for repair, yet neither wants to sever the connection entirely. Inside, Archie eavesdrops through the sliding door crack. Edith pulls him away, gently scolding him with wide eyes. Archie claims he was merely testing the air pressure. Edith rolls hers, then leads him to the sofa. She explains that forgiveness is not forgetting. It is choosing to continue loving despite memory. She reveals that she and Archie too had difficult moments in their marriage, but they survived because neither walked away during storms. Archie grumbles, but remains silent, staring into his lap. His silence is admission. Later, Gloria and Michael return, eyes red, but posture relaxed. They do not announce reconciliation, but the house feels lighter, as if the gravitational pull of their pain loosened a little. They join the others on the sofa. Stephanie curls between them, hugging their arms. Joey climbs into Archie's lap, laughing. Archie pretends reluctance, but smiles more than he intends. Edith settles beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. The living room glows with Christmas lights, warm, soft, forgiving. As night deepens, Archie and Edith discuss future visits. Archie complains, but his tone lacks venom. He secretly looks forward to seeing the lemon tree again. Edith mentions that families change shape, but connection remains constant. Archie sighs, acknowledging with a grunt. Before going to bed, he looks at Michael and mutters, "Don't be stupid again." Michael nods gratefully. It may be the closest thing to fatherly guidance Archie knows how to give. In bed, Gloria whispers to Michael that she wants to try counseling to rebuild slowly. He agrees, squeezing her hand gently. They fall asleep facing each other for the first time in months. Outside, California's warm breeze flows through the trees, carrying the sound of distant laughter and cars on coastal roads. Life continues. The next morning, Archie steps onto the patio, early wearing his robe and slippers. He watches the sunrise over palm silhouettes. The warm light touches his face. He exhales, accepting, if reluctantly, that not all change is bad. He even picks a lemon, holding it thoughtfully. The moment is symbolic. Sourness can still be useful, even refreshing when handled correctly. When the family prepares to leave, everyone hugs. Stephanie promises to write letters. Joey blows kisses. Gloria whispers to Edith that she feels hopeful. Michael shakes Archie's hand firmly. Archie, gruff and awkward, pulls him into a half hug, muttering, "Just don't make a fool out of my daughter again." Michael smiles. At the airport, Edith cries, waving frantically. Archie stands stiff, pretending not to wipe tears. As the plane lifts off, Archie gazes through the window, watching California shrink into patterns of green and gold. For a moment, he wonders if his stubbornness keeps him anchored or trapped. Back home, the house feels familiar but different. The suitcase lands with a thump on the living room floor. The TV hums softly in the background. Archie and Edith sit down exhausted. Archie finally admits, maybe California ain't the worst place. Edith smiles warmly. Then, without warning, he adds still too many fruits and nuts, prompting Edith's exasperated gasp. In the quiet evening, Christmas lights twinkle faintly on the tree they left behind. Archie stands before it, pondering. He realizes that families are like trees, sometimes crooked branches, broken, occasionally decorated poorly, but still standing. Edith joins him, holding his hand. He squeezes her fingers gently. Their flight home did not solve everything, but it sparked understanding. Gloria and Michael's marriage remains uncertain, but salvageable. Stephanie returns with new appreciation for belonging. Archie's worldview evolves a fraction of an inch, but in his universe, that's monumental progress. Edith continues to believe in miracles, patience, and gingerbread. The narrative closes not with perfection, but possibility. Love survives when communication replaces assumptions. Forgiveness does not erase damage, but it makes repair possible. And sometimes growth happens in unexpected climates, sunny patios instead of snowy porches. As Archie turns off the Christmas lights, the living room darkens softly. He murmurs, "Those were the days," not with longing for the past, but quiet gratitude that today, though flawed, is still theirs.